Hello, everyone. We have some amazing news to share, wonderful news. The federal government is about to deposit $2,000 into your pocket or bank account within 48 hours, according to various inside sources. Congress and the White House are finalizing an emergency $2,000 stimulus payment for seniors and disabled Americans receiving Social Security SDI or SSDI benefits. This would be the biggest one-time cash windfall retirement and disability households have seen throughout the pandemic. Washington officials are finally waking up to the extreme financial hardship caused by red-hot inflation that's left millions of our most vulnerable. ICI Aries may be coming if you're living on a fixed income from retirement or disability benefits and have seen your nest egg shredded by rising prices over the past year. This video requires an additional $2,000 share. Landing in your lap in the next couple of days would be an absolute game, and that reality is looking more and more likely with each passing hour, so let's dive right in and get you the facts on what could be the biggest financial lifeline yet for senior and disabled citizens drowning in inflation. Welcome to my channel, your trusted source for Social Security updates. I hope you're all doing well. Let's get right to it. According to multiple reliable sources, the federal government is finalizing plans to issue a fourth round of $2,000 stimulus checks to recipients of Social Security SSI and SSDI benefits. Yes, that if you're on SSDI or SSI, you could be 48 hours away from having an extra $2,000 deposited directly into your account or delivered to your mailbox as a check. I know, it sounds too good to be true, but let me explain. Washington officials are calling this $2,000 direct payment an inflation relief check because consumer prices have been spiraling out of control with groceries, gas, utilities, and just about everything else going through the roof in recent months. Unfortunately, Social Security's annual cost of living adjustment hasn't kept up. Someone receiving the average monthly Social Security check of around $600 is still dealing with a double-digit decline in purchasing power from just a year ago after accounting for inflation, so Congress is aiming to provide substantial relief through this one-time $2,000 stimulus payment exclusively for Social Security SSI and SSDI beneficiaries. The goal is to essentially cover the gap between this year's cost of living adjustment and the actual rise in living expenses that these vulnerable groups have been dealing with. First off, the $2,000 stimulus will be entirely federal. It won't require any additional action or matching funds from state governments. My understanding is that the Biden administration is invoking its executive authority to have these checks distributed through a combination of the Social Security Administration, which already has reporting systems in place, and the IRS. As for who qualifies, based on my analysis, it looks like anyone over age 62 receiving Social Security retirement benefits will automatically get the full $22,000 payment for SSDI recipients and those on SSI. In terms of timing, high-level officials have directly signaled to my sources that they're trying to fast-track these inflation relief payments, with the first wave of $2,000 stimulus checks being sent out over the next 48 hours. These checks will likely be limited to lower and middle-income households. The IRS and Social Security Administration already have the relevant income data and bank account for most beneficiaries on file for those who don't have electronic payment details set up. So the administration can deliver this financial assistance quickly to help struggling seniors and disabled people make ends meet. The default will be a paper stimulus check in the mail. This is a developing scenario with many gaps in knowledge that will hopefully be filled shortly. What is the income cutoff for SSDI and SSI beneficiaries to receive the full $2,000 stimulus payment? We know there will be some phase-out range, but the numbers haven't been locked down yet. How many payments will there be? Will this be a one-time $2,000 check or monthly or quarterly inflation relief until prices come back under control? Will adult dependents like elderly parents living with their children also qualify? How will this be paid for? Will they use funds from the I? These are some of the critical specifics we're all waiting on, but this $22,000 stimulus boost for Social Security retirees is great news and exactly what policymakers should do. Let's talk about how an extra $2,000 from the government could help millions of struggling seniors and disabled Americans. For starters, It'll give people living on very low fixed incomes a lot of breathing room. These are households that have been pinching every penny due to out-of-control inflation and forced to choose between filling prescriptions, paying utilities, or buying enough. Beneficiaries will immediately be able to restock their kitchen and stock up on essentials without worrying about exceeding their monthly budget for the following several months. This stimulus could also boost local economies, especially in communities with high populations of seniors and disabled people, because when you put money directly into the hands of people living on the economic margins, they tend to put it back into local businesses like grocery stores, pharmacies, restaurants, and retailers. An extra $22,000 might change your life. Millions of seniors and people with disabilities have been suffering from a severe erosion in their standard of living and quality of life, as inflation has run roughshod over their fixed incomes and limited savings. Some have cut back on food-skipped medication doses or been forced into making other potentially dangerous belt-tightening decisions that no one should have to make in the richest country on earth. If these direct $2,000 stimulus payments materialize, given the traction this appears to have within the administration, there's no reason to doubt that they will. It's going to be an absolute lifeline for the most vulnerable segments of society. Just imagine if you're a senior citizen and your late 70s subsisting almost entirely off of your $1,600 monthly Social Security check, or a disabled individual who hasn't been able to work and save as much for retirement while living off of SSDI payments, having the federal government hit your bank account out of nowhere with a $2,000 cash infusion is an absolute game changer. This could allow people to finally get caught up on all their past due bills, piling up payoff, lingering medical or utility debts that have been weighing on their minds, and ease the perpetual stress of wondering how they're going to afford basic necessities as prices keep climbing for the first time, and who knows how long an influx of $2,000 would give these vulnerable groups the flexibility to temporarily not nickel and dime every little purchase. Heck, it might even allow for a modest splurge or two, like replacing some worn-out clothes or household items that they've deferred buying during this period of financial hardship. The bottom line is that this $2,000 stimulus is going to make an objectively massive difference in the quality of life for seniors and disabled citizens who have been struggling to keep their heads above water during the worst inflation crisis in 40 years. Of course, $2 isn't going to magically solve all their problems or erase the corrosive effects that elevated consumer prices have had on their extremely tight budgets and depleted nest eggs. So my hope is that this stimulus package is just the start of more sustained and wide-ranging relief efforts from Congress and the White House. If it is indeed just a one-time $2,000 payment, it will provide huge relief in the short term. But people living overwhelmingly off their Social Security and disability benefits need more than just a one-off cash injection in an ideal world. The administration would authorize recurring $2,000 monthly inflation relief payments to Social Security households to last for as long as prices remain elevated and their annual cost of living adjustments continue falling short. But we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves here for the time being. Let's focus on the $22,000 stimulus that now appears to be a done deal and could be hitting bank accounts within the next couple of days. The excitement and relief this is going to bring to cash-strapped households cannot be overstated. Of course, the skeptics out there might question if this is all too good to be true. How can the government simply conjure up billions upon billions for these $2,000 payments out of thin air? Well, based on my analysis of the underlying funding mechanisms and some comments from officials involved, it seems the money for this stimulus will largely be repurposed from other pandemic aid programs that went unused or underutilized. We're talking about funds that were already approved by Congress as part of previous COVID relief packages but never made their way out the door. That's the end of today's video. See you in the next video, and if you enjoy it, subscribe for more.